Hello friends, if you frequent this channel, you're probably on a quest of self-evolution, trying to just...
I was going to say you're very special.
Oh, special. Special.
Right. Special. Very
gosh,
special. We're special people. What were you saying? Quest?
For self-evolution.
True.
That we don't want to just be pushed around, especially by many of the modern influences of the world. That, you know, for watching regular news channels and we're doing all this stuff, we can be infused with anxieties and fears and go through life just feeling, oh. So a lot of what we do here, of course, is try to encourage people towards more mindfulness, more awareness, more compassion, more connection, what we consider the really good things in life. But part of that quest involves a little fork in the road. And one fork says, go and find your true self. I don't know about you, but I grew up hearing that. There was a true me that I had to find.
Yeah.
The other fork says, you evolve or shape yourself along the way. And today we're going to talk a little bit about both those forks, why we're going to encourage you toward the crafting yourself fork of the road.
Well, what do you mean by true self? I guess it's the first thing. If we're searching for something or trying to create something, let's define what we're talking about so we're all on the same page.
And here's the thing. I don't know what it is. I've always been told it's kind of in fairy tales. It's in many of the concepts of therapy that we have going on these days. This idea that there's a true me in there, and that that's who I'm trying to be. And I've always actually kind of loved that thought, that there's a true me, and then I can ask when I'm confronted with a situation, am I acting from my true self, or am I acting from something else? And that something else is kind of all the, well, we've called in one of our courses the cultural goo that plops onto us.
Conditioning.
Yeah, that we mistake for ourselves, but really isn't.
Yeah. So what we're saying is that we don't really know what a true self is, or if there is in fact one. When you said it that way, it almost reminded me of Plato's forms, you know, this perfect chair. And that's the ideal, and it exists out there in the world, this perfectness. And then we strive to find that or achieve that. But I feel like that's a setup for a lot of trouble in some ways.
I think so. As so many of our cultural quests that aren't really defined. So for instance, you know, of course, we have a quest to become wealthy, rich, but few people know when they will be wealthy enough to have achieved that goal.
Right.
And in fact, we see as people get wealthier and wealthier, often it just becomes a never-ending hunger. So the Buddhists talk about, you know, these hungry ghosts, how we can kind of become hungry ghosts and have bellies that never become filled. So does that become what this quest for this true me is?
And on the flip side, I mean, that's a very good question. One of the things that I also think, having myself searched for my true self, is that sometimes when you're not making great choices and maybe you're making excuses, you can say, well, you know, that wasn't really me. I just haven't discovered my true self yet. And that wasn't me doing that, right? That wasn't the true me. The true me would never do that. And so I wonder sometimes if it's kind of a little scapegoat. And I mean that from a self-honesty perspective. I mean, obviously we have to love ourselves and our imperfections. And that's part of the problem, is the true self can set up a perfectionistic idea of something that, as you said, when do we know we're there? If it's perfect, we'll probably never be there.
Yeah, what is it? I mean, when I think of my true self, I think of maybe a set of responses, of basic ideals about the world that I think of as my core Kentonness. And then maybe there's other aspects of me that I don't like so much that I think of as the not me. But if we're called to a radical sense of responsibility, then we may kind of say, however we are right now is our true self, is the self that we're being. And that takes away that excuse of, well, you know, that wasn't me saying that yesterday. No, it was me. That's the way I acted. And taking responsibility for that.
Well, I wonder if maybe seeking your true self, quote, is dangerous if you do it in the way where here's a perfect ideal and you're constantly trying to find that within you somehow, or get it somehow, this outside thing. And maybe, I don't think there's anything wrong with curiosity, with seeking, with wanting to know, who am I? But asking that question should be really open-minded and open-hearted. So not how will I find that true self and what is it, but kind of who do I want my true self to be? And then I think I found it more fruitful to try to create in each moment and hold myself accountable for that true self that I wish to be. And then it can change all the time. I can try something out and I can go, ooh, actually, that does not feel right for me. That's not how I want to go forward. How could I go forward differently? And that curiosity is a different kind of seeking.
You're talking now about crafting.
I am. I'm
Crafting
switching to the
yourself.
other concept of building in each moment, in each choice that we make, the true self that we want to be. And knowing, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. And knowing that true self is going to change. So instead of, hey, here's the sun in the sky, and if there's any clouds, it's bad, we all know the weather shifts. So our true self, just like our health, like a lot of things in our life, is going to shift and change. And it's more of a musical orchestra piece, or a masterpiece, as you said, a painting that you're never quite finished just loving and adding to.
I see now why you were saying it could get you into perfection. Because if I have this idea there's a true self, there's kind of a perfect self that I'm always striving to become, which could first of all drive me into a perfectionism. But because that true self is not really an identifiable thing, I'm never really going to get there. I'm setting myself up for disappointment. I mean,
or even feeling shameful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that wasn't, how could I do that? That's not the true me. And instead of really realizing you're learning and growing and crafting something, anybody who's ever done a project will know it does not come out perfectly the first time in general. You're going to have to make some mistakes. And that's how you find what really works.
So maybe this true self thing is really not that fruitful of a quest. And there's the perfectionism part. There's the fact that the people that are really questing for the true deep selfness, let's talk about the Buddhist monks and such, when they devote years and years and years to trying to find that essence of self, they usually are finding just a clear, pure awareness, not a set of behaviors.
Which is a present moment thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, which changes.
Which
always
changes. Yeah, which is the other branch that you're talking about, the crafted branch. But I think there's one other danger before we leave this branch completely, and that's that from people that we've known, there's, this is kind of a modern therapy thing too, where people will go to a therapist who will try to help them to uncover their true self. And when we do that, we're running the risk of the therapist giving us their model of what we should be like. Because that's often kind of what subtly is done.
Okay, I have to say, it's not just therapists, it's everyone around us. Yes. So if you do not take responsibility and accountability for crafting the true you, all of society would be happy to do it for you. And there's also a million different products that will help you with that. So if you just want to stop down at the corner dime store, we got a bunch of things that are going to help you with your true self, or at least feeling better about the self you are until you find that true self. No, I mean, all joking aside, it isn't just a therapist. Everybody has a desire to be in a group, right? So if you belong to my group, then we all feel good.
And I'm going to start trying to modify who I am in order to fit into your concept.
So one thing this makes me think of, because this is a conversation we've had a lot. This isn't just, oh, we just thought of this. We've talked about this many times before in the past, is discernment. So as you go forward, crafting your true self, if that's what you decide, you go with curiosity, with open-mindedness, be an investigator or a detective, ask good questions. Why do I believe that? Is that what I want to believe? What could I believe instead? Is there truth? What's the truth I want to be? And then be discerning, because there's going to be books, there's going to be people, there's going to be therapists. Everybody has something valuable to offer. I think each experience, we can get something from it as we continue to cultivate that true self. But really being discerning in, is that the right stuff? And taking only what feels as though it will be fruitful for us.
Yeah. And that may change.
Of course,
shift over time. You talked about that change. And I think that's a core difference between these two paths. Because with the perfect true self, there's an unchanging contentness that I'm trying to achieve. In this one, I'm kind of seeing myself as an artwork that's unfolding moment by moment, day by day. And I'm crafting that artwork. And I mean, we made a video a long time ago about when you eat food, and you think when you eat food, you take that energy into those calories. Literally, you're going to turn those calories into actions, into words and other things. How are those going to affect the world? And what if we just think about that as our daily way of being? How am I crafting myself right now? Because we are, with our every thought, our every action, we're burning little pathways.
Oh, we're training ourselves. We're always training ourselves, no matter what. We're just sometimes unaware that we're training ourselves. So an awareness of that training and of how that goes out in the world. Okay, I've stopped for a second. Many of you know that I am a recovering perfectionist. So I have definitely done the whole holy grail of this is Rebecca. And I think it's really important that those of us that fall into that category where we feel that we need to be a certain way, realize that we have to put our true self, that creation of that, we need to hold that in a place of honor and respect like we would of our best friend, and not apologize for the journey we're on. Doesn't mean not apologizing if you realize, oh, that was an action that does not resonate with me. You're going to feel so much better if you go and say that to somebody, or try to work through that. But I'm saying there can be, for perfectionists, a tendency to feel as though I should be the savior of everyone. And that's what a perfect true self does, is always gives to others, never asks anything in return. And so I think as you search for your true self, if you have that tendency, you need to really get clear, hey, it's okay for me to be curious and examine without having to feel, I don't know if I'm okay this way.
Yeah. And I think as you talk about that, you're kind of hinting at the attitude with which we approach this. And our good family friend Daniel was talking with me today. He was talking about fun.
Oh, yes.
And, fun can get a bad rap in our culture as being frivolous, but it's actually one of the best motivators for us. So what if we say, instead of searching for my true self, I'm going to sculpt and craft a version of Kenton that I think right now makes the most sense. And that's probably going to change 5 years from now. I know the Kenton that I thought maybe I wanted to be 5 years ago looks different than the one that I'd want to be today. And have fun along the way. And if we have fun with it, it's naturally going to not only motivate us, but it's gonna shift the whole aura about it from a real serious kind of heavy pursuit.
That's what I wanted to say. Seriousness, that is a total party pooper. And I mean that in the sense of life. When you seek pleasure and joy and sharing that with others, and you feel in yourself this just burstingness of wanting to discover, and oh, that was great, I want to keep that and keep that going in the future, it really does reorient the way we move forward into things. I don't know. I think we could do a whole video about pleasure and fun, because our culture teaches us plenty how to feel bad about things, how to feel guilty, how to work hard, how to feel not deserving. But whoever says, hey, find what you love. Hey, learn how to find the things that give you pleasure and share them with other people. So I love that as you sculpt and craft this true self, this true you, have fun doing it. Yeah, because it's way more fun that way than approaching it seriously, and it will give different results.
What you've done here, I think, to end this up, is you've taken search for the search. You said for your
Is this why you do videos on your own? I can't come on this one, Rebecca. Okay.
Not the search, the crafting, you said, of your true self. And that allows you to keep that idea that there's a true self, but in the way that I can think there's going to be this book that I want to write. And when I finish it as a masterpiece, it's going to be its true self. And it pulls us into recognizing again that true self is what we are right now. I think maybe it's not really two paths, but there's just one that look like two.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can be, but I still feel like we can kind of be pulled down a quest that's not as fruitful as just thinking of shaping, crafting your true self as you go along.
I think it comes back to that seriousness. When we look at that path that says there is one true self and it exists and I have to find it, there becomes a seriousness. I better find that because that's my true self. What will I do without it? And if we talk about the other path, there's, maybe for me at least, there's more of a feeling of, hey, it's okay if I meander this way and I meander that way. But I think what you're saying is, in essence, we're just using words to talk about something that doesn't really have compartmentalization pieces to it. So yeah, of course, we always want to hear what your thought is on true self and how you go about crafting who you want to be, and, you know, whatever you want to share on it. I always really like to hear.
Yeah.
Have you said your piece?
Yes, I have. You may conclude the video.
This is why I don't do videos with you. Really, it would be my channel, but no.
Friends.
I am really grateful that we can all have this dialogue. It seems as though our family learns so much from all of you, and hopefully you can get something interesting. Take what works for you from this. Yeah.
Can't wait to talk with you all in the comments.
Make sure it's your true self talking to us.
No non-true self.
Oh, fake self. Wait, I want a t-shirt that says, I'm seeking my fake self.
Yeah, what would that be like? Quest for the fake self.
Right, because what are we doing right now? Are we our fake selves?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's a good flip around. That's food for thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think on that one.
Yeah. You can bake me some cookies as a thank you.
You got it, girlfriend. Love you all.